Hi, Susie. Hi, Catherine.
Great.
Hi.
Hi, Jim.
Good evening. Good evening, Becky. Hi, all.
Oh, yeah.
How are you? Hi, Jim Hemingway.
Oh, sorry. Hi, Becky. I didn't realize I was muted.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's frustrating when you realize it. And it always happens. I don't, after all this time on Zoom, it just keeps happening.
We're going to get this down, and right about the time we get it down, they're going to stop doing it.
Well, it'll be reinvented into something else.
There you go. Some artificial intelligence type of thing, right?
Ooh. That was probably a bad idea.
Well, I think actually that the online Zoom meetings will last indefinitely. I would be surprised if it goes back to the old formula of meeting in person at the town hall, at the various town halls across the state. I don't think
Towns
people
have
are going
gone
to.
back.
What?
Some towns have gone back.
Ah, well,
Yeah, Amherst Regional School Committees are in person.
oh,
We'll see.
Was it just Bob and George were?
George, yeah.
Yeah, we should be missing.
We're waiting on AJ for a quorum.
Yeah.
I'm sure
AJ.
he was around this afternoon, so I'm sure he'll be here any minute.
That's all we're missing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Bob and George are busy. They're
Yeah.
doing stuff.
Well, I got pissed off at my computer and I dumped OneDrive, which was great until I found out documents that were saved with OneDrive are now gone. Oh, well, that's okay, but so I will need someone to send me, I could probably find it on the email I sent out. I don't have, yeah, I'll find it on the email I sent out.
The minutes?
Yeah, the minutes from some.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me know if you need.
Okay,
Well, just let us know if you need something.
all right.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm a little late.
Hey, Jay.
Getting logged on here.
Oops, that's not it.
All right.
I know. And
All right.
that's here first thing.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a little juggling of the agenda and we'll take care of Board of Health request to start. So I just minutes ago forwarded an email that has some background information that Catherine shared. Did everybody get that?
How recently?
Moments ago.
Like minutes. Right before I logged on here, yeah.
AJ's taking over my good habits.
I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it yet.
All right, let's see.
Go back to here. A minute.
Oh, you know what? That's because it's in my
To send box.
drafts. Sorry about that, guys.
No,
Okay,
that would have been scary if I was able to see it.
thought I clicked send. I guess I didn't. All right, so I'm just sending it now. All right. Okay, so we'll get some background from Catherine, but this all relates to our discussion from a few weeks back, or maybe a month ago, about the Pioneer Valley Mosquito Control District and this kind of issue that arose where we weren't sent bills for our kind of membership fee, and I think there was also sort of a gap, or at least there was a potential gap where it wasn't really clear what services we were getting. Catherine, can you bring us up to speed on what you've learned since that initial conversation?
Yes, we've got a new director of the mosquito control district, and the guy is great. He's not only very enthusiastic and apparently quite good at the mosquito part of the job, he's also very good at the bureaucracy and human relations part of the job. And he has sent us the raw data from the years that we were concerned about. So we now know that mosquitoes in Shutesbury were monitored for those 2 summers, the previous 2 summers, but we weren't so sure about. He also he talked to legal counsel for whichever one of the boards he's answering to, because there's a hierarchy of them. And he talked with the board, and we had told him that we would hope that they would forgive some or all of this past debt. He said they're not willing to do that, but what they will do, he said, is they will offer you for this year only, basically $2,500 off if you will accept a reduction in services. So the nature of that reduction and how it is to be structured is entirely at his discretion. And he said that he feels confident that he can manage that in such a way that's consistent with public health. For example, because we haven't had much of a mosquito season yet, and he has put out some traps and there was almost nothing in them, he's not going to start the monitoring until the first week of July. So that's a few weeks that we can just write off as part of that reduction. In any case, the Board of Health voted unanimously to accept this deal from the, I don't know if it's actually from the Mosquito Control District, from their board, or if it's from the State Board of Reclamation, which is the next level up. But the Board of Health is confident that that will be good for us. So that's going to save us $2,500. Somebody asked last time if they had critical mass in terms of the number of communities that had joined the district. And yes, they have about 20 towns in the district, which was, I think it was well above their goal. And there's another one that is working on joining now. So it's a really good thing. And I'm quite excited about it. The new guy is really good, really loves the work, is interested in learning new things. And I've been out in the field with him twice, and he's just really good. I'm really impressed. So in this memo, I don't know if anybody even has it, I have explained that I would like to pay for fiscal 23 before fiscal 23 is quite over. And the Board of Health from our line item can contribute $1,600. It's about $1,675, something close to that, out of the $5,000. And I'm asking the FinCom to provide the rest from your whatever resources that you have, and that's just for fiscal 23.
Okay, so just want to make sure I'm just a couple of clarifications, make sure I understand. So this this offer of reducing our fee in half for 1 year, that pertains to our essentially our upcoming services for FY24. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
And that means for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
Services
Okay.
that we'll receive this summer.
I see. Okay. And so what we're discussing now is how to resolve the FY23 bill we hadn't sort of anticipated this, so there isn't a budget line in our FY23 budget that can be accessed to pay that bill. That bill is $5,000. You're requesting $3,328
That's right.
for that
Right.
purpose, and the remainder you're essentially gonna what you're gonna pay from your
From our line item.
24.
No, from our FY23, we have money left in our.
Okay, you have some funds left. I got you.
So
Okay.
we'll put that up.
I
AJ,
understand now. Okay, yep,
AJ, we have the 5,000 in the FY24 budget.
right.
I don't
Okay.
believe we have it in the FY23. You just said we have it in the FY23.
Okay,
And I don't believe we do. That's why,
Right.
That's
We don't
why I'm
have it in
here
the-
asking for money.
right.
Yeah.
Understood, right. We don't have it in the FY23 budget.
Right.
We do have it in the upcoming in the FY24 budget. Okay, got it. Okay. All right, are there other questions from the FinCom? All right, let's go to Jim Walton and then Jim Hemingway.
Yeah, the 2022, is that, I see how we're going to use half of 2024 to pay for 2022, but does that still need to be a warrant article? Because it's a prior year, okay. So from a
You're not
budgeting
exactly-
standpoint, it won't affect budgeting, but we'll still need a warrant article to cover that 2022. Right? Does that sound right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, the other one, I just, Kathy, what is well, you mentioned the district. What comprises the district?
This is the Pioneer Valley Mosquito Control District, and it is made up of some 20 communities all down the Connecticut River corridor. It's got a board of directors consisting of members, some individuals from the member communities, and we have a district director, which is this John Briggs, and he is the one that basically does all the work for this. He goes out and he sets traps. He comes back and he collects the mosquitoes that have been caught in the traps, and he identifies them. If they are mosquitoes of concern as vectors of important diseases affecting human beings, he sends them to the lab in Jamaica Plain for further analysis and to see if they are actually carrying diseases.
Okay, so when you say the 20 towns, these are 20 towns that have signed up or okay. And there's other towns that just haven't, that are in the same geography that just haven't signed up? Or,
I believe so, but I don't know how many towns we're talking about in that corridor. I think they had a goal of at least 12 or 15, and they have exceeded that.
okay,
Because what
Okay.
they want to have is a good geographic distribution so that they're getting data points from many
Okay.
areas around the valley.
okay, thank you.
Jim Hemingway.
Yes, apart from the enthusiasm that you noted from this new person who's running all of this, have you actually received, or has the Shutesbury Board of Health actually received any useful data from these folks over the last 2 or 3 years? I mean, have you seen, has something of value actually come from them up to this time?
Well, this is a monitoring project. So the idea is to monitor to determine what mosquitoes are active here and to find out if they are carrying any diseases that we need to be concerned about. So to get useful information is kind of not what we want, right? Because it would mean that there is something bad going on. However, we are getting a sort of a good view of what mosquitoes are active here, and we know what to be concerned about, right, in that sense.
Okay, it's just we've been told that nothing has happened for years and things have sort of disappeared, but then all of a sudden this is sort of a new revival as far as I can tell. I just wondered if the town has gained anything of value from this organization up to this time. That's my question.
I believe it is because we are getting surveillance of the mosquito situation.
Mhm.
Right now, we are probably between waves of triple E, for example. But that could, when that comes back, and it always does, right, we will get advance notice that there are the kinds of mosquitoes carrying the disease, right, that we wouldn't otherwise have until somebody came down with it.
Mhm. How would this information be transmitted to folks in Shutesbury? If indeed it would happen?
Well, we would start with town announce. If it were really a matter of concern, we would do reverse 911. We would communicate with the public in as many ways as we could, and it would make the papers.
Mhm.
So we would have pretty broad coverage.
And can you confirm, Catherine, that every member town has the same sort of membership fee that we're paying? I assume that's the case.
Yes, that is the
Oh,
case.
good. All right. Okay. Got it.
Oh,
Susie.
Somewhere I saw something about Joe Comerford trying to get some funding for this project. I don't know at what level. Is it to reduce the membership fees? Is it to put some feet under the new board or the new director to be able to enable him to do it? But I did see something. I don't know if anybody else saw it somewhere.
I believe that what Joe is trying to propose is a different kind of initiative, the same thing, but on a statewide level. And where that would leave the mosquito control districts that are already in existence, we don't know. The smart thing would be to leave them, to not reinvent the wheel, because we have these districts all over the Commonwealth. The smart thing would be to leave them in place and support them. However, it's in such early stages with her that I don't have any information on it.
Jim Walton?
do we need a motion to go through this process?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I make a motion?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yep.
Make a motion to transfer from the FinCom reserves 3328. That's the number that's in the document you just sent, AJ. For the fiscal year Board of Health line item for purposes of mosquito control service.
Second,
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. I just have one suggestion, Catherine, that I think since this represents not an insignificant investment, of resources, I think it would be great if there could be some public information, like on the maybe on the Board of Health website or something, maybe just like even a link to the district's website, or just a kind of a summary of that just explains that we are a member of this initiative, and a description of what surveillance services are provided, and how were there to be an issue, kind of how citizens would be notified. Just some information to share with the town, I think would be helpful, like on our website.
I totally agree. And what I plan to do once we get everything straightened out is to send out a town announce, alerting people to this and letting them know what it's about, and also giving a link to at least to the Board of Health website where they can read about it.
Yeah, great, good. Okay, Jim Hemingway.
Yes, Catherine, why isn't the state providing more direct financial support for this? It would seem to me it's a statewide issue, and I'm surprised that with all the money they're collecting from us, fair share and the rest, why aren't they helping us out or paying for it. I know Joe Comerford may be working towards doing that, but I'm surprised that there hasn't been more initiative from the state. I didn't.
I said, damned if I know.
I saw some mention on their website as we were just talking that the state provided a grant for kind of the startup costs to create the organization, but wasn't clear that there was any kind of ongoing
Yeah.
funding, grant funding for this.
No, not that I know of.
Our tax dollars at work.
Yeah, thanks
Or
AJ
not.
for sharing this this list of towns. It looks like it's pretty comprehensive list in the valley of
Yeah.
towns that are part of this
Yeah.
project.
I mean, I think this is 22, which is even more than, I think you mentioned 20, Catherine, so I don't know, maybe one
Yeah.
or two of these have sort of dropped off since, but in any event, that's what's on their website. Okay, I think we're probably ready to vote. We've got a motion, it's been seconded. Let's see, we're missing a couple members, so who starts us off? Is it Jim Hemingway, I think?
Yeah.
We're gonna be all mixed up.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Walt and I, as long as Susie's here, I'm good.
Yeah, right. Okay, so the motion passes unanimously. Okay, thanks, Catherine, for the background information, and so that transfer request is approved, and then
Thank you.
we'll deal with the FY22 issue, I guess, at a future date when I'm assuming, Becky, we're gonna want to sort of have this piggyback on another. I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't
we're
seem
not
like
gonna
it'd
hold
be
a town
worth-
meeting just. for
Right,
this
especially
one.
for this, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
great.
it's in the upcoming town meeting folder. So,
Okay, great.
but don't hesitate to flag it, Catherine.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Take care.
Okay, let's take care of meeting minutes. So I think we have two sets, right? Even though there's only one on the agenda, we have May 23rd, right?
May 23rd and May 30th.
Okay. So I looked at the 23rd, but I didn't review the third. So let's take care of the 23rd first. Does anybody have any questions or suggested edits?
Nope.
I have just one minor thing, which is my name in 2BA. If you can just spell it out as AJAY, that would be great.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem. All right. Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended of May 23rd.
Second,
Jim,
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Walt and I,
Right, okay, and then we've got May 30th. Was that the budget presentation? I'm just opening them up right now.
Yes, it was.
Yes,
Yeah,
the budget
Okay.
presentation, and we continued the meeting after the presentation.
right, that's right. Okay. Okay. I don't see any issues here for me. Anybody have questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, let's, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written for May 30th.
Second,
All right, Jim Hemingway,
Yeah, Hemingway, I.
Cashew, aye.
Mosher, I.
Walton, I.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I just put an item on the agenda for annual town meeting debrief. Just in case there were sort of any comments or feedback or any discussion coming out of, I guess, either the May 30th budget presentation or town meeting that any members wanted to bring up. Jim? Anyway?
Yes, yeah. AJ, I appreciated your presentation very much. It was short, sweet, and very much to the point.
Good, thank you.
George was less so.
It's of course I gave him the most complicated topic in our presentation to discuss. but yeah.
I gave him the line to use, but he didn't use it.
Yeah. Well,
Susie and I did.
one of
it.
these years, right? One of these years, we're gonna get that little topic down.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. But yeah, I thought. Well, let's see. I see Susie's hand up. Susie.
Well, and I think that the finance committee is gaining ground over time at how it understands the issues and how it presents them. And I think that, you know, there will always be some people that ask questions at a level of detail that's not for everybody in the meeting. But I think that we have done a good job at preparing the town for this. The information session helps. And so town meeting, I feel, went smoothly, and that we have a track record of having a well-constructed budget.
Yeah. Jim Walton.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I'm looking at it from a perspective of the town and the reaction from the town. I thought it was, I think this year was relatively less hot button topics, maybe, or fewer, or not as hot a button topics this year as sometimes they usually are. And maybe that's also maybe kept some of the crowd down. It was relatively, I thought, a small crowd this year, a small gather. Was it 200 or 200 to 300 or?
Well, the weather wasn't of much help either.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that probably had something to do with it too.
It
Yeah,
just about froze.
yeah, yeah.
Did.
I almost took over. George had this hot soup, and I thought I was going to take that over. It looked like that was the perfect thing for. But I thought that the presentations went well. There was some good back and forth. There's a couple of topics. I just think the whole process of the town meeting just amazes me. Just seeing how everybody in town has the opportunity to get up and make a point or vote or whatever. And some of those topics I found really interesting. The discussion on both sides of a couple of those topics was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I learned some. I learned a lot.
That's great.
Great. Any other comments? I mean, I think in terms of sort of things we can do better next year. I agree. I thought things went really smoothly. I think I dropped the ball a little bit on making sure we had all the materials like on hand. That the issue with the not having the elementary school budget, I should have made sure that was that we had planned for that in advance. So yeah, I think we'll make sure that doesn't happen again.
Do we usually have that? Is that usually there? It usually
I
is.
think
I
it
just
is,
don't
right?
remember.
Yeah. I remember seeing it.
The schools usually provide it. They usually
Yeah.
bring it and put it on the table.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
usually from the school that does that. Yeah, because I don't remember us submitting or
No,
putting that
but
in
I
place the last
just,
couple of years.
when that happened, I thought, I thought like, because we did it, I think, at our last meeting before the budget presentation, we had a brief conversation about, well, what are all the documents we're gonna need, I think posted and available. So I think I should have just double checked with the school committee that they were gonna bring that. But anyway, it was fine,
Yeah.
but we'll just make sure that next year that's.
Well, and I
That's,
had started to get them up online and I couldn't find the regional. I struggled finding the regional one and I got distracted. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, I didn't get them online either, and they probably should have been online a month ago. And I think as soon as we get them, they should go up.
Right, I think we should attend to a page, we have a page. Sometimes that's been the issue, which pages things going on. But I think we can decide that ahead of time and put stuff on it there.
Yeah.
And we can do it as soon as we get it. So it's not a backlog of things. And that sounds good.
Yeah.
There's the FinCom page. We've had stuff on the FinCom page, town meeting page, and the select board page.
And-
When it's that far ahead of the season, I don't know if the town meeting page has been set up.
It hadn't been.
So
Yeah.
maybe we'll just figure this out with Grace.
And it might be, or we could just, on the finance committee page, just have a budget section, a school budgets section, because, and I don't even know how many people are gonna go to the website. The school budgets are so big that I think people really appreciate the physical copy, because the regional school would have all the demographics of the 4 towns and all kinds of information that was really helpful, but we haven't seen that from them in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's not critical for everybody, but there is that, there's that kind of small segment of folks that want to be able to review that information in detail. And I think Mike was the person who brought it up, and I thought it was totally fair, like that he didn't have sufficient opportunity to review the details of that budget. And so it was a opportunity for learning. We'll make sure that doesn't happen next year. Susie?
Yeah, I think we could put stuff on the FinCom page in a top heading called budget, anything that we want, everything that we want. And then we'll do some town announces that say it's there as we get closer to town meeting. And the tangle this year with our town and Genesis Health, but those are significant things. There will always be significant things that make
Right.
it hard to do what we're doing, but by having a
And
section of
Susie,
our,
I just want to say it was more to do about people not submitting things timely.
Right.
It was tougher rounding people up to get stuff in this year for some reason.
right, because there's a lot going on in town. This is not a typical town year between PFAS and Lotto 32 and the planning board and all of that stuff. There's a lot going on. But if we knew that we're going to park stuff on that page, and then we could do a town announce every once in a while that says, this is what's on the page, here's the information. I feel like that would help us have a parking spot, and we can keep up with it, and we can do it as soon as it becomes available.
Yeah.
And AJ, I have found that most people who are really interested or paying attention, Steve is here too, about the region, they go to the regional and get the budget straight off the region's website, especially parents and stuff I've talked to. So it's not that nobody had access to the regional one, it's just we
Right.
didn't have it at your fingertips, and we need to do
Right.
that.
Right. Yeah, and the only other sort of small note that kind of occurred to me as we were, at one point during the meeting was that and this is really more of a capital planning thing, but I think I'll mention this to Ellen. I think there should be a moment during our capital planning season where we send out an additional communication. I don't know if that's in like December or early January that says, you know, we've gotten an initial set of, requests and discussed them. This is a firm deadline for any other capital related discussion of any other additional capital related needs. And I think that'll prevent, this issue that came up with the security cameras, which was, I thought like clearly a, something that had the support of town, and it would have been a shame to just like have to delay that, a whole year just because, the process didn't unfold as it should. And so I think I think there should be just like we have that October communication to all the departments where we say, send us your, prepare your budgets, share your budgets, include any upcoming capital needs. I think there should be one more sort of like reminder communication that happens, sometime I think around December, just to avoid that kind of an issue where there's a department that's sort of working on a capital, project request, and it just doesn't get communicated in a timely way. So anyway, that was another small note I wanted to sort of flag for next year. Jim Hemingway and then Susie.
Yes, Becky and others, would it be possible to get our town newsletter out as it has been in the past before annual town meeting? A lot of people do rely on that to sort of guide them and take a look at issues or whatever. And this year, the news, the newsletter hasn't even appeared even as of today. So what happened?
Jim, like I said in the beginning, when Susie was mentioning one issue around the newsletter, that part of it was well, first of all, we have a new admin secretary who did a great job reaching out to people. I'm not sure how, but getting people to respond was not as effective as it has been in other years. A number of people were very late and took a lot of reminding. We were managing the annual report and the newsletter at the same time. I am certain that will be on schedule next year. We thought we could still make the deadline, and then we had a couple technical issues right at the when we were trying to meet the deadline and have it at least online for people. So yeah, it's been a very, very valuable tool. And as you might have noticed, the appreciation for Janice was she's done this for over 25 years, and she's been a godsend to the whole town. And yes, it wasn't as timely this year, but other communications were going out, and I don't think we can put the onus of people lack of response. I think there were a lot of different things going on this year.
All right, Susie.
Back in the late 80s and early 90s, I was on the finance committee and became chair. And one thing we did was to have each member of the committee be a liaison to each department. And I think there were probably some people that had more than one department. And it was more than just sending out emails. It was talking to them. And in fact, at that time, I believe the liaison reviewed the budget proposal with the department person in person. This is back in the old days when there was in people. And that helped prepare the presentation the department did to the board. I feel like overall, the society we live in right now has not enough human contact. So I do think having a reminder process in December would be good, but it's also to bring it to real, talking to the person in the department about what are their concerns, and to not only urge them to fill out the forms, but to hear them and to recognize that what they're talking about matters. So I wonder if we would evolve some way of having more personal contact by having people take on a small liaison part with different departments.
Yeah, I really like that idea, Susie, at least for like the big ones, fire, police, highway. I mean, you essentially serve that role for the school, so I think we've been in good shape there, but something, yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Yeah, if you could sort of make sure to flag that suggestion in the minutes, I'd like to kind of keep that in mind for next year. Steve.
Yeah, I'll just second what Susie just said, because I will tell you that with the personal relationship that I built with Miss Ava Scott, I did not want to disappoint her, and not when she sent that second request looking for my reports, I did not want to disappoint her. So I always turned them in. But this time, yeah, without having that same
Not
thing.
everybody, you don't have a relationship
I
yet.
don't have the relationship, so it just slid. And I'm sorry for that.
And you weren't alone. It was,
Yeah.
she was like, what's up with these people? They don't respond to me. And I said, they will, but they have to get to know you, I guess. So it was harder to get everybody moving and getting their stuff in. But it should work better next time.
Yeah, and I really like this idea. The more I think about it, I like this idea that Susie said, where we can kind of, again, at least for the sort of big, is it the big four? Yeah, big four. We've got like a member of the committee that just takes on just, that kind of extra responsibility to just check in a couple times during the year with that department head. Okay, great. Well, I think it was helpful to sort of hear everybody's kind of feedback and comments. I wonder, Steve, since you're on, maybe we can talk about this highway department request. Yeah.
I'm confused by that because it was resolved. I mean, the transfer was made at the last meeting.
Oh, it was. Okay, that's right, because we tackled that after the budget presentation?
Yeah.
Yes, of course, yeah. Forget that. So let's scratch that from our agenda.
I think, Steve, did you want to say something?
I'm sorry, I just walked away for a glass of water. I didn't hear any of that.
No, I was going to ask you to talk about this request for this, resolving this beaver situation, but then I was just reminded that we already sort of took care of this at our last meeting. So yeah, that was it.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say thank you for taking care of that, because I learned from Becky earlier today that you guys had approved it after I left the meeting last time.
And I had told Tim, so Tim was aware, I think.
Steve, I went to take a look at the beaver situation over there on Montague Road, and you have to give it to a compliment the beavers. It's a remarkable, sturdy piece of engineering they did. It must have taken some serious backhoe work to carve that little trench there to let the water through. Quite impressive.
Yeah, they are amazing.
Okay. I think I'm looking at the agenda for tonight. We had this fire department request to review the call and training wages as an item. Are we
There was an
gonna
update
discuss
on
that?
that in the minutes too, AJ.
Okay?
It said it was going to be handled at the year-end transfers next month.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so there's no action to take tonight then, no transfer request. Okay. All right, then I think one item to just add to the agenda is you sent an expense report that I think we all got. Let's see.
Yeah, sometime in the
Couple days
last
ago,
week,
right? Or was it June 8th? Yeah, June 8th.
June 8th.
We haven't reviewed an expense report in a little while, I think, because we've been pretty jammed packed getting ready for town meeting. So maybe we can take a couple minutes just to look at that report, see if anybody has questions on it. Becky, if you let me share my screen, I'll pop
Yep.
it up. All right. All right, so before I scroll through here, did anybody have an item they wanted to just jump to, that if they've had a chance to look at this for our meeting today?
I wondered if the this is as of June 8th, so and that legal has $143 in it. I wondered if it got zeroed, if it's spent out.
$143.
Is left.
I'm sorry, read your questions. What's the difference between
that-
0 and 143?
Yeah, a
Yeah,
cup of coffee.
a fraction of an hour, yeah, of somebody's retainer or time, yeah. Okay.
And I just want to explain the assessor's clerk. You'll
Yeah,
see
I was just gonna talk to that.
4,500. That is going to be taken against the administrative assessor line. That's why we kept going, because we have that money in the budget.
I see.
So will that be an
Okay.
end of year transfer? Is that how that
Yes.
works? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna just keep scrolling.
So it looks like heat will be an end of year transfer. And where is fuel?
Fuel is basically 100% here.
But we transferred money into that, right?
Right.
Yeah. And we might have to transfer more.
Is that transfer actually reflected
Yes.
in here? Yeah, okay. All right, so. I don't think $46 is gonna hold out till the end of the fiscal year.
Wouldn't that transfer in show up somehow more specifically?
Not in the new format.
Okay, so we don't really know where it was, and now it's at 44, 131.
Right.
And you think that's including some money transferred in?
Yep.
It's a little bit hard to read. Okay,
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
budget's closer to like 35.
okay,
So
Right,
we've
so
already, we had
this-
to transfer, I think, $10,000 or something to make the last payments.
Got it.
okay.
All right.
And there we have the department training at a negative 2,300 and the call wages at a positive 37. So with
Right.
those two together at the year-end transfer, we should be okay.
All right.
Were
Well,
they gonna consolidate those lines for the next fiscal year? Is that how we're gonna work that, Becky,
We're-
or?
We're
well,
gonna talk
we did
about
in
it.
the budget. It's in the budget.
as consolidated lines.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
No, I don't, I
No?
thought what we consolidated was the equipment, not the
Yeah, like these
call and
things right here.
training.
Right, the equipment lines.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. One of my, so after we wrap this up, I wanted to just hear some suggestions for kind of off-season agenda topics that we want to discuss, kind of these more sort of big picture questions that we don't really have time to kind of dive into and resolve right in the heat of the budget season. One of them was this suggestion that Paul, well, I don't know if it was a suggestion, but he had shared this idea that we can structure our budgets in a way that allows the departments more flexibility to allocate and spend funds across these different categories. So that's something that I think is relevant to what we're just talking about here, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But okay. So the snow removal line, that's an end of year transfer issue to be resolved?
Yep.
Okay.
is that an item we'd use for a future meeting, or
I'm sorry?
when would we go over that, or when would we
We'll
cover
go
that
over it.
topic?
We're supposed to go over it before the July 15th, if possible.
Yeah.
And potentially this year we'll need to meet with the select board to do line-to-line transfers. For the majority of the times in the past, the finance committee has been able just to use its reserve to close out the year. So we'll have to take a look at it, the next report that comes out, and see which way we need to go. Whether it needs to be a joint select board finance committee meeting, or finance can do it on their own. There aren't a lot of overruns now, but we still have another payroll.
Yeah.
to go. That's gonna
Right.
push the window.
We have another what, Becky?
Another warrant week or vendor warrant. We have another expense report coming out. And so
Yeah.
anything that's
Yeah.
over now is gonna be more over, and some new things could be over.
Yeah. Are you anticipating anything that could be an issue, Becky?
Well, the call and the call wages and the training, which was already noted.
Yeah,
I think we're fine on health insurance. We're fine on most of the big things, except for the expenses for snow removal. But the net with the wages is $5,000, so it's not terrible. When it's netted with the with the snow removal wages. But it could change, we need to get all the bills in to be sure.
yeah.
And on page 5, the health insurance one, it says that there's been 410,000 blah expended. Did that include moving the 30,000 that we talked about?
I believe,
Or maybe not. And I guess the other way I could see it would be looking at FinCom
no,
reserve.
that did not include the 30,000.
Right.
Yeah, because the 30,000 would come out of the 109.
Okay.
Well, the childcare program seems to be flush. Oh,
Yeah.
Hmm.
Is that just an accounting thing?
yeah, I think there was, there, I have to check on an issue to see if, the after-school program was being charged correctly, because they don't usually have that big a surplus.
Yeah.
Which line are you on, Becky?
I'm looking at after-school childcare.
Page what? Oh, I
It's
can't-
page, I can't see.
Oh, okay, yeah,
This is page 9.
page
okay,
nine.
got it.
I just want to check in with, make sure everything's appropriately allocated. And they're going to be establishing a new legal fund gift account on next Tuesday for the solar bylaw lawsuit.
A legal expense gift account. So some
Yes.
people can contribute to the legal costs.
Yes.
Looks like Gail has got this format pretty well fine-tuned with the new software.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just those funny things like it's not, we used to have one more column where we could see the money go. You could see the breakout that Susie was talking about earlier.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
money comes in, okay.
Yeah,
But she couldn't find one that has that fifth line, so.
All right. I think we've got, let's see. Okay, any other lines or comments on the expense or questions from the expense reports? Broadband.
yeah, I guess that a question
Oh, sorry, just jumped ahead.
I'm
Go
trying to
ahead.
recall, Becky, I know that there's, to do this final one for the fiscal year closing, that takes some time. I'm trying to remember, when do we usually see something? Where all the or final version for the fiscal year?
After the transfers, yeah, we can't do any transfers after July 15th. And then it's usually the school holding up closing the books on the school. I mean, on the whole town, because they're our largest department. So it can be anytime between the end of August and the end of October. But we hope for the end of August.
But the
Or-
transfers have to be done by July 15th, right?
Right, yeah.
And you're saying that beyond that, the biggest thing that might hold up a
Closing.
final is the school?
Yeah,
Yeah,
final, it's
Okay.
usually waiting for the school to close, and then
okay.
there are a lot of pieces. But this is, Caitlin's second year, so she's feeling a lot more comfortable than she was last year, and things might go more quickly.
Okay. I think next topic was just, future agenda planning for future meetings. I had 2 topics that I wanted to discuss and consider in more detail. So one was, I've already mentioned this, Paul Lyons in that meeting where we were preparing for the budget presentation, I think if I'm remembering this correctly, mentioned that a number of towns, that he's been in communication with other town moderators, a number of whom had an approach to the presentation of the annual budget at town meeting that allowed departments some more flexibility, essentially just having almost like amounts for kind of sort of more global categories for each of the departments, and kind of a global cost that they could then have a little bit more flexibility to kind of spend and move from item to item within their department budget. I think this is something we kind of started to talk a little bit about it when he mentioned that. I think there were some sort of mixed feelings about it, but I'd like to kind of have a more thorough discussion of the kind of pros and cons of that approach. Susie?
I'd like to have a little research, and I would take on finding some, maybe other people would take it on too. Look at other towns to see what those formats look like. I mean, I could ask Paul, but I think we might as well just go ahead and go to town websites and find a couple.
Yeah.
To see where it's at. So before we have a discussion, I'd like that to be brought to the table. And shared.
I think that's a good idea. Let's just ask Paul to identify a couple of those towns that he knows, present their budgets in that format, and then we can. They should be available on the web, and we can pull them down and take a look before our discussion. I think that's a good idea. I think Jim Walton and then Becky. Are you muted,
Jim?
Yeah, Jim, you're muted.
Yeah, Gail, I was wondering if Gail, with the towns she works with, whether she might have some formats for some towns. And just this, I'm sure she'd be at least be able to access a couple.
Maybe you could ask her, Jim, have a little interest.
Okay. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Just one other topic that I think we need to discuss. Michael DiChiera had reached out to me. I mentioned this way back, that he had sent me an email in connection with his role as the chair of the Energy and Climate Action Committee. And he had requested kind of an opportunity to come just talk to the FinCom about their work, and kind of wanting to initiate a discussion about sort of how the town can sort of prepare from a financial perspective for the demands of related to climate change. And so we were kind of deep in budget preparation at the time, so I told them that we would be happy to have him to a meeting after annual town meeting. So that'll be another topic that I'll coordinate with him, and we'll invite him to a meeting. Are there other sort of like back burner kinds of topics that folks want to make sure we address between now and September, October? Susie.
Aaron Saunders came to the town hall on a date, couldn't know when. It was after town meeting, and George got into a discussion with him about the Chapter 70 formula, and some of the ins and outs of that. And given what Jay Killow said at town meeting, he was referencing if the state would just step up and do their part, pay in full. That was a pretty that was a conversation that needed to be had. It wasn't going to happen on town meeting floor. But the upshot of the meeting with Aaron was that our finance committee would sit and understand and think about ins and outs of Chapter 70 funding and make a list of concerns. He said they just went through basically what what they got out of the last one was the Student Opportunity Act. And there was a lot about the funding and but there's more to do. And he said they're not likely to open that formula up right now, but they do want to hear what the concerns are. So from that meeting, George and I said, maybe we would invite some people from the community who have some concepts of what this is and what it entails, and have a little bit of thinking on our part, and then be able to tell our rep what we think are our concerns. There's these weird pieces like rural aid is one way that the legislature seems to be trying to compensate for some of the problems in funding for education, but it's not a whole cloth. And we don't, the FinCom doesn't actually get to see the rural aid being worked on and delivered. But apparently there was some more rural aid this year. And then you probably heard there's a rural aid department head now in Gobi. And so there are rural issues. The Chapter 70 funding doesn't particularly address some of them. Aaron wants some guidance for what the concerns are. In order to have that, he and I talked about having one FinCom, part of a FinCom meeting, and inviting somebody like Jay Killow, who already has some, he's worked in school systems, already has some concerns. So that would be a topic for
Great. Terrific. Yep. Okay. Any other ideas?
I think we have to discuss the concept of transferring into capital stabilization from free cash. We brought it up at the end of the year, end of our fiscal season, and we talked about we would have a time to talk about that.
Yeah. That's right.
And the other one in that group was the capital plan schedule. Bob finished the year at capital plan this year saying that the schedule needs to be looked at more carefully, blah, blah, blah. So it looks like that will either happen at capital planning or
It should happen at capital planning.
yeah. And so what we would just say to them is, we hope you have that discussion because it becomes a big part of our ending year. So we would ask, recommend that they do review it. And sometimes it's just about people becoming more familiar with what is. And when you don't know, it doesn't, you don't feel prepared or something.
Becky?
AJ, I really liked your thought when it came up the first time of making sure that when the capital request goes out, that the deadline is on that request, because it's not, and it hasn't been. So none of the departments had the information Bob was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. So, right. And actually he mentioned a specific date, and to be honest with you, I wasn't even aware that had was codified somewhere. So I think, was it February 1 date or something like that? Yeah. So yeah, let's make that a part of the budget request letter that goes out in October. Right. All right. So I will I'll touch base with George and Bob to see if they have any other topics they want to make sure we agenda over the summer, and give them a chance to contribute. Okay. Any other issues, comments, questions, updates? I don't think there are like committee updates, since we just wrapped up town meeting, but let me throw that out there. Is there any other information that folks want to share?
The school committee's meeting this week, whatever day of
Okay.
this week it is, the 15th.
Got it. And is that with the newly elected members, or does that
I don't
happen?
think so, because they're doing end of
Okay.
year transfers. I'm not
see.
sure what that turnaround is. It's actually
Got it.
not, it might be. Becky, do you know when the new school committee people take?
Yeah, I'm all done.
Has the best answer.
You're all done, Steve.
Dan and I are all done, but I believe we're both gonna be there at that meeting anyway.
Okay,
Got it. Okay.
Congratulations, Steve.
you held out, held up.
So does that also, I assume that means that the school committee will elect a new member to represent it on the regional school committee? Is that gonna be one of the first things that happens, or?
Yeah, it better happen Thursday night
Okay.
because there's a meeting on Tuesday night.
Okay, yeah. I assume folks have heard that there was a resolution on the contract negotiations, right? Between the region and the APEA, which is good news.
Did the union vote?
I'd assume that was the case. Steve, do you have an
No,
update on that?
I haven't gotten any confirmation that they've ratified it yet.
Okay, so that was, I see. So that email that I got was just explaining an agreement among the negotiating committee. And that's now has to be ratified by the, okay, got it.
Who did you get the email from, AJ?
I think I got it from Doug Slaughter, but I think it was because I'm a parent of a
I'll
student
send it to
in
you,
the,
Becky.
district. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Just so I can get to the select board too.
Yeah.
And if the finance committee members might not all have it.
Do we know when the union vote will be taken?
I have not gotten any emails that state when they're meeting.
And do you know what's up with the track project?
We have been mired in this other thing that we haven't even talked about it probably for 4 months, 5 months. But I'm hoping that they get started talking about it again this summer.
Right. I'm sending all of you, just forwarding you that email I got from the region about the contract negotiations. There's not much to in the email, although there is a link to the I think the salary information. Okay. All right, so I don't see any hands, so I think that's it. Any other topics before we wrap up for tonight? We should, sorry,
Maybe
just one thing, we should also just decide when we're meeting next, but go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, just a question on this agreement. Do we know how what's proposed, how that matches up with the numbers that we went through with the for our budget process? With the 4 towns? Do we have
And
any sense for that?
It shouldn't affect anything for that one because there's no way that the school committee was going to agree to have to go back to all 4 towns and ask for anything, because at the 4-town meeting, it was very clear that there were 4 big no's.
Okay, so for the fiscal year 24, we should, the proposed agreement should match up with what we've got budgeted.
That's correct.
Okay. Any idea of future years beyond beyond fiscal year 24? What it looks like, Steve? We're making you work right to the end.
That's the end.
The para raises jump a good amount the second year, but they're still not what they want, but it is better.
Yeah.
We're not seeing double-digit increases in future years as a result of the contract?
I don't believe so.
Great.
And
I
our,
was assuming, oh, go ahead, Susie.
our town's teachers will be having a contract negotiation next year, is that right?
I believe this year.
I know what this year and next.
I mean, starting in July.
Yeah, and so I've forgotten, does somebody from the FinCom sit in on that?
It's been an appointment by the select board. It's
And they
been select board
appointing from,
members. I did it last time. Elaine, yeah, we haven't, I don't recall ever doing it from FinCom.
okay.
Okay. We're gonna wrap up early tonight. Although let's discuss our next meeting. I keep forgetting to do that. Let's see. Summer schedules are a little tricky.
Do we need to
looking-
coordinate this, Becky, with the select board?
The July 13th meeting, is it July 13th?
That's Thursday. You mean the 11th, maybe, is a
Yeah.
Tuesday?
So I think if the finance committee scheduled a July 11th meeting, that would be great. 'Cause if select board's meeting the week before, but they haven't picked a day yet because the 4th of July is a Tuesday. So they'll have to meet on the 5th or 6th, but I don't have that date yet. But if the finance committee meets on the 11th, it's before the 15th, and we will have the best information on our final numbers and what needs to transfer. And
I
if
have
we,
a
meet
little
the select board,
tricky
we'll
thing.
ask them to join finance committee. Sorry about that, AJ.
Okay. I have a little tricky thing on that week. Do you think there's any chance we could do that on the 13th?
Sure.
The Thursday, just for that week?
Yeah.
Would that work for the rest of the committee? If we met on a Thursday night on July 13th?
Or I wonder if we would meet as a little part of the select board meeting in the previous week.
No, it's too soon though, Susie. That's why I
Not
said,
enough numbers are in, okay, the
Yeah.
13th then, Thursday.
Okay, if that works for everybody, that would really appreciate it. Okay, so we'll meet
Would that be
on
6:30?
6:30 on Thursday, July 13th.
And
Sounds
as
good?
select board will be a guest for a short part of that.
Great.
great.
All right, very good. Okay, unless anybody has something else, I'll make a motion that we adjourn for the night. Nice and early, 7:50. Okay, great.
Mhm. Second,
All right.
Does that mean when we don't have George and Bob, that we got done a lot faster, or what does that mean?
Yeah, that's right.
How the
All
agenda,
right.
the agenda was pretty
Yeah,
brief this time, right?
yes, that's right. All right, should we do a quick roll call, Jim?
Yes, and I'd like to recommend everybody go out and take a look at the mountain laurel this year, because this is an on year for laurel and it's spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen it as good as this.
Yeah.
Great,
I
thank
think you're
you.
right, Jim. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
It is pretty amazing.
I don't know how all
All
those
right.
laurel bushes get together and decide that they're all gonna turn on with such gusto, but they do every 2 to 3 years.
Great, thanks, Jim. All right, Cashew, eye.
Mosier, aye.
Walt and I,
All right, good night.
Thanks, everybody.
all right,
Good night.
See you in a few weeks. All right, good night.
you all have a good one.
Thanks, Steve.
You too.
Lunch? On Thursday?
Um,